are listening to Weekend Debrief, a podcast of Grace Church in Dallas, Oregon, where we look back at the events and activities of the weekend in our church community and the world and talk about them in light of the gospel. Thank you for listening. Well, hey, welcome to Weekend Debrief. Pastor Dave here.
Pastor Wes.
We are glad that you are joining us. We kicked off a brand new series this last weekend,
Yeah.
So lots to talk about and dive into with our new series on the identity of Jesus.
Right? No, yeah. Who's this man?
Right.
It's good. It's going to be a really good series. I know we, as our Grace group met this last week, had a really good discussion. Just overall, the bottom line, man, Jesus didn't come to give us a better life, but to give us eternal life.
Right.
And just a timely thing for us to remember. You'd started off talking about just that picture of really, I guess, what it is that we're looking to for fulfillment, and how quickly things can go away.
Yeah.
Certainly seen that. I mean, just examples of all the fires but it's not just natural disasters.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of things in our lives that can just be gone in an instant.
Yeah. I mean, anything we put our focus on, anything that we rely upon that's not Jesus and life in Him can go away.
Yeah.
It can go away in an instant. So, I mean, you can spend your whole life trying to accumulate things or investing in certain relationships or building a platform or working towards a certain goal in work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And those things can all come to an end. And the reason I made that tie is so in John 6, it's coming out of the feeding of the 5,000 men, right? 12,000 people. And the people follow Jesus. And he said, "You're only following me because you ate the bread and were filled." Like you're just wanting another meal. You're wanting, and then they're like, "What else are you going to do? What other sign, Jesus, that we may believe in you? Because you feeding all of us, that was cool, but we want more." And that's we all look to those things. And Jesus' whole point was, you're looking at the wrong things. Don't look to the bread that sustains you for a day or even until the next meal, a few hours. No, there's bread that I can give you that will last to eternal life, or for eternal life, and that's Him. It's Him.
Yeah. So, it's interesting that the people that were there, 5,000 men, and then up to possibly 12,000 total women and children. Some of them, if not a lot of them, had to have had some sort of experience or have seen some of the things that Jesus has done up to this point.
Right. Well, yeah, we're even told in the right at the beginning of chapter 6, verse 2, a huge crowd was following him because they saw the signs he was performing by healing the sick. Yeah. So they had seen him, they're following him. He does this next miracle of feeding everybody.
Right. Yeah. So I sit there and I think, I mean, it's easy to look back on that in history and go, What do you guys, I mean, you've totally missed it. How could you not see that? And to be very critical of that. But I don't know, what are some things that maybe situations that come to mind or things you've seen in our world today where maybe we fall into that same type of trap? Where we're like, okay, God, show up. Can you do this? And then I'll believe type thing.
Yeah. So for those in the church, I think it I'll just speak for me. The way I've seen it kind of manifest in my own life is God proves himself to be faithful through whatever it is. But then that next time that I get into a tight spot, whether it's health concern with my daughter or stress because of something with the church and I don't know what to do next or how something's going to turn out. Yeah. And I start to worry, I start to stress, my attitude changes and I once again bear the burden on myself. Right. Even though, it had just been taken care of. God proved himself to be faithful. Everything worked out well. But this next time, whether it's conscious or not, I've got this. No, it's on me. I've got to make sure this turns out all right. And so that's how I've seen it in my own life. And I would assume for others it's kind of the same way. Yeah. Or for those who aren't, who wouldn't call themselves Christians, maybe it's I think for a lot of people actually growing up in and around church or youth group, or maybe they'd gone to a young life camp or a summer camp with their youth group or whatever, maybe even on a missions trip. I mean, I know of lots of students that I was in a high school group with, right? That, had done all the things that I had done.
Right.
And then later in life, they walk away. And it's like, what happened? Well, whatever, they had experienced and caused them to believe, at least partially early on in their lives, suddenly that wasn't enough to sustain their faith.
Right.
And that's why later I went to that, that second point of, how do we seek Jesus? We have to believe in him, but then we have to remain in him.
Right.
That belief is not a one time I believe, therefore I'm in, and I don't have to. I've got no responsibility anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's an ongoing. It's a belief. And relying on Jesus, I think I said, with no takebacks, right? You can't suddenly be like, no, I was just kidding. I don't really. Yeah. No, you're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
And that's why, repeatedly through this passage, you have Jesus talking about those who have been given to me. I will not lose them.
Right.
Like they're secure. I have them. We call that perseverance of the saints. It's not the simple once saved, always saved. That trivializes that truth of, I prayed a prayer, raised my hand, walked an aisle. I'm in, once saved, always saved.
Yeah.
I added Jesus to my life so I can go to heaven. Now I'm just going to go on with my life. No, it's an enduring faith, but that's a faith that's, yes, I believe, but it's also, verse 44 of chapter 6, Jesus says, basically, let me read it. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day.
Yeah.
So you've got that, and that phrase, I will raise him up on the last day, comes up over and over through this passage. Right. This is what Jesus is promising, that those who eat the bread of life, him, will be raised up on the last day, but only those who come to him are those who are drawn by the Father. So there's this responsibility on me to believe. There's also the idea that God is sovereignly drawing people to himself, and those are the ones who are saved and endure.
Right. Yeah, and I think it really just helps to drive that picture home that it's so much. Jesus is so much more than just coming to him to expect a better life.
Right.
We've seen over and over again, even thinking back to our First Peter study, and that there will be trials, there will be difficulties. It shouldn't take us by surprise, and so. But if we're just the relationship with Christ is much more than just, I want a better life, I want to go to heaven. Yeah, those are both good things, but then obviously he has come to give us that eternal life, as you talked about, as that bottom line. And I think as we're talking through this, it just kind of comes to mind that if we're just seeking and we're looking for God to show us another sign, we're looking for God to prove himself to us one more time, really what we're looking for is just that better life.
Yep.
Right? And so when we realize that it goes much deeper than just that next sign or whatever. So our second point was instead seek after Jesus. So instead of looking for those signs, instead of looking for the tangible, physical things that we put our hope and our trust in, to seek after Jesus who provides eternal satisfaction.
Right.
And so by believing in Jesus, by remaining in Jesus, you talk a little bit more on that, kind of what you were, I guess just kind of summarize those 2 points.
Yeah. So, throughout here, Jesus says the one who's going to be raised on the last day is the one who believes, right? So verse 40, for this is the will of the Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him will have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. And then verse 54, the one who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day, because my flesh is true food, my blood is true drink. The one who eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in him. And then I didn't really have time to go into this, but this is a really powerful part in verse 57. Just as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so the one who feeds on me will live because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven. It is not like the manna your ancestors ate and died. The one who eats this bread will live forever.
Yeah.
So there's this idea of kind of relationship that Jesus has with the Father in the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and this idea that their lives are connected, that Jesus lives by way of the Father, and so in the same way we live because of Jesus. So it's this. I mean, apart from the Father, what is Jesus? Apart from the Trinity, the Father, Son, Spirit, like they're connected and really can't be. I mean, and we see even on the cross how excruciating it is for him to, in that moment on the cross, to be separated from God. My God, why have you forsaken me? That idea. So in the same way, we now who have been made alive in Christ, we're connected in the same way, in a way that can't be undone. So so therefore we need to remain in him. And like I said, that's yes, partly on me as a follower to stick in there and follow. But that's also the promise of God's sovereignty, that those he has given to Jesus, they won't get lost. They are going to remain. And that's on God. And so that perseverance of the saints idea, to quote the old Calvinist thing, that's a work of God in my life that sustains me to the end. So he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of struck by this as we read through this, that this was this was probably a mixed audience, both Jews and Gentiles, and how much of a mind shift that had to happen when some of these Jews were hearing this. To think about, so Jesus is saying, this is the bread that came down from heaven, not like the manna of your ancestors. And he's talking about, equating himself with God, and he and God are one. And this had to be a very, very difficult jump for them to make in their belief structure. For the Gentiles that were there, I'm sure, this was new to them as well, to try and understand, eat my body, drink my flesh, it's like, what are they talking about here? So how do you think, I don't know, maybe this is too off topic, but just thinking that shift that people would have to make as Jesus comes onto the scene here, and I'm sure that there were people in that culture who were coming and were showing that they could do magic tricks and that kind of thing. And so really trying to, maybe there were some of them that were kind of hesitant, like, is he for real? Is he really who he says he is? And do we put all of our eggs in that basket type thing?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's certainly right. We don't know what the mix of the audience is. We know specifically there's, it calls out the Jews started complaining. Some have said that is just because they were Jewish. Others are seeing that as being a specific reference to the Jewish leaders who did not believe, who began to oppose Jesus, and so they're the ones that a couple times, verse 41, verse 52, the Jews argued among themselves, how can this man give us flesh to eat, right? So they're like, many believe those are the religious leaders who are kind of digging their heels, like, no, wait a second, and then the rest of the crowd were kind of mixed. Even verse 60, therefore when many of his disciples heard this, so those are those who have already started following him, outside of the 12, because later on, Jesus kind of locks in on the smaller group of disciples. But even some who had started following him are saying, this teaching is hard. I don't know if I can go along with this anymore, right? And they've seen him heal. Some of them had seen him walk on water. Assuming that's the 12. So when they didn't, but still, like, others were kind of
obvious things that have happened,
right? Others are cluing in, like, he was there and now he's here. When did you get here? Like, how did that happen? Something's fishy is going on here. And then the feeding of the 5,000, all that is going on, and then he starts teaching this, and they start to back away. Wait a second, this is strange. This is too hard. I can't accept this. And the same thing's true for us today.
Absolutely.
There's all this evidence for who Jesus is, for what he has done. There's an obvious need, and people can go along with it to a certain point. I'll follow Jesus as long as it's cool, as long as my friends are doing it, as long as I get something, continue to get the good life.
Yeah.
When I go to summer camp or on a missions trip, man, I am all in. This is so great. And then they're in their normal everyday life, and when they're challenged because the Bible says that homosexuality is not right, that it's a sin, or sex outside of marriage is a sin, or pornography is a sin, or these things that either we enjoy doing or people we know and love are doing, and now we have to draw a hard line. Right. This is right, this is wrong, this is what Scripture says, this is what the world is doing, what my friends are doing, what I want to do. Then verse 60, this teaching is hard, who can accept it?
Yeah. And even before that, doesn't it say in 59 kind of leads into that they were complaining? Complaining, and this is too hard. These teachings are hard, and I know that, you had mentioned that in the message, and we spent some time talking about that in our group, just like how quick we are to complain and you go, well, this is too hard, and I can't do it, and I think it's verse 66 as it goes down, it talks about that even more stepped away, and so they get to this point that this is hard, and then they're found to be not faithful, and that they step away from the faith. And
so 66. From that moment, many of his disciples turned back and no longer accompanied him. So Jesus said to the 12. You don't want to go away too, do you? Yeah. So, okay, how about you guys?
Yeah.
And that was kind of Jesus' ministry of he gets big crowds, and then instead of accepting this popularity and, hey, they want to make me king, and then he'll say something like, eat my flesh, drink my blood, and then they're gone, right? Or, he who follows me must take up his cross. Wait, what? You got to take up a cross? No way. Right? So, which for us would be like, you got to take up your electric chair or your, your needle for the injection, whatever, the means of
carry your instrument of death.
Carry your instrument of death. Yeah, your capital punishment, right? So the people flock to him. They see him do amazing things. They're in for what they can get. He drops the hammer. This is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Are you in it for the long haul?
Right.
And they back away.
Yeah. I think that's some really good encouragement for us as believers when we encounter people in our life that we have a great example here. It is okay and it's right to draw that line, to say, I will go up into this point, but beyond this, here, it's we're either following Christ or we're not.
Right.
And if you're not, then I have to move on, and I'm heading in this direction.
Right.
So, not only individually, I think for a church that's important for us. I know, as far as elders, that we spend a lot of time talking about and praying about, are we heading in the right direction? Are we making decisions that are God honoring? And sometimes those are not agreeable to everyone. I think we all can stand. We can stand before God and not feel guilty and not feel like we've made the wrong decision. But there does come that point in time where we have to draw that line to say, no, this is where we're going, and this is what we're doing. And what a great example. Even Jesus wasn't interested in making everybody happy.
Right.
So
he came with a particular mission, and he came to fulfill that mission no matter what. And and that picture of bread, is so rich. And that's, you talked about complaining earlier. One commentator made the connection. It keeps coming up, manna in the wilderness, and so you have the nation of Israel that brought out. They're rescued miraculously.
Right.
They're sent out in the desert, and they start complaining. God provides bread. They're excited for a little bit, and then what do? We don't have meat like we had in Egypt.
Grumbling,
right? He sends is it quail, right? And they eat, and then we've got too much meat, and then they don't have water, and so he provides water from the rock, and it's like, so many times, and so they made the comparison to here. Jesus has healed, he's provided bread, he's done all this, and now the people complain. It's like, what do you have to complain about?
You're just like your ancestors,
right?
Yeah.
But that's us today, and so the tie-ins with the Old Testament Israel is striking. The other interesting thing that I didn't have a chance to go into is just the significance of bread in Scripture. I mean, I could have done a whole message just on bread. Which wouldn't have gotten into any of this passage. But, Jesus was born in Bethlehem, raised in Nazareth, born in Bethlehem. The house of bread is what Bethlehem means. Bread was a means of when you broke bread with somebody, that was a peace treaty. So you would sit down and you would break bread with your enemy, and that signified the making of peace. Jesus is the bread of life given to break bread. The bread was broken for you. Making peace between God and us. So there's all kind of things that culturally tie, but I just didn't have time on Sunday to go into. But a really, really cool connection points of what the significance of the bread of life is.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, a lot to cover in those 40 plus verses, and no, that was good. A lot to go through in the study guide. So if you haven't gotten your devotional guide yet, make sure that you do that. We actually are down to about 17 copies left. Other than that, we'll have you can order them through Amazon. We can get you the link for that once.
So I'll put the link both to order through the church for that last 17, but also the link to order it straight through Amazon. Once we're sold out of books here, it's actually faster for you to order it directly through Amazon, and it's the same price. But it would be faster once we had all the books here. But we ordered 150 because that's about what we sold last time when the First Peter series. So once we're sold out, you'll want to go directly to Amazon. We'll have that link in there.
So no, it's good. So make sure you get your book.
Written by 7 of our women who are involved in leadership here, either leading Bible studies or grace groups. I think one of our elders' wives and others, and just 7 amazing women who did a phenomenal job. And then also we had another woman, Joy McMurtry, who helped edit the book, and so lots of people involved in writing and making this, and I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, definitely good way to
better than pretty good. It turned out
really good.
The writing, those women put a lot of work in there putting those together and editing it. So
great way to dig into Scripture, and it ties in with the current message. And
what are some of the other features other than we know it's got questions for grace groups?
Questions for grace groups. There's also a place in there for family devotions, family guide.
So those are questions written specifically with children in mind. Students like teenagers, probably junior high and high school, could just do the normal questions. You can work on that with your with the older kids, but younger kids, we have that family discipleship part.
And then in the front of the book, there's just some directions as far as things to think about if you're in a grace group, and different activities to help you get to know each other, and just kind of that overall what is our heart's desire and using these books. So we'll have another book for Christmas, not one that we've written here at the church, and then we'll have one later in for the Revelation series that we will have written. So
and one thing in there's a journal question for some kind of longer thought and journaling, which is really good. And then I'm really excited about that daily devotional, just 5 days a week that you have a chance to sit and reflect and go deeper on the theme from the week.
Absolutely.
Over 5 days. So it's not a huge amount. You have to do all at once. It spreads it out, and so those who want to foster that spiritual discipline of whether it's journaling or personal devotions or whatever, this is designed for that,
to help you with that. So it's a great resource.
Awesome. Well, coming up this upcoming Sunday is John 8. We're looking at Jesus is the light of the world. So another great picture and image of who Jesus is and what he came to do. And so you can read ahead. I would encourage you, as I said in the message, to start reading through the book of John. And if you just stick with it, whether it's a chapter a day or whatever, you'll be able to kind of be getting through I think we cover 15 chapters in this series in total.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit to finish at the end of the series, but then you'll have the full picture of Jesus in the book of John.
Yeah, no, it's a great resource. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And if you have questions, make sure that you can always text those in during the message, after the message on Sunday, or even during the week. If something comes up in your study and would like to text in a question, we'd love to be able to answer those next week on the debrief.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
All right.